Ever stop to think about that old saying, the one about Satan once leading the music in heaven? That's a
Yeah.
pretty striking image, isn't it? But, well, where does that actually come from? Is it really accurate?
Right, that's the big question.
That's kind of the knot we want to untangle today on this deep dive. We're going to look into some really interesting threads connecting evil's origins, music's power, and, well, heaven.
And I think people might be surprised by some of the connections.
I think so too. So just to start, let's remember the figure we now call Satan, he wasn't always, this dark force. He started as Lucifer, an incredible being of light, beauty, created by God.
That's such a crucial starting point. It's easy to just see the end result, the rebellion, but he began within God's perfect creation. That fall, that change,
Mm.
it's key to understanding everything else.
Okay, so Lucifer in music, there's this passage people often point to, Ezekiel 28, verse 13. It
Yeah.
talks about the workmanship of thy tabrets and of thy pipes was prepared in thee in the day that thou wast created.
Yes, that verse is central to this idea.
And the phrasing is really specific. It doesn't just say he played them, but that they were prepared in him, like inside him.
Exactly. That word "in" is what jumps out. It suggests something much more integral, maybe, than just being a talented musician playing an instrument you hold.
Right.
These tabrets, think rhythm instruments like tambourines maybe, and pipes, probably wind instruments, flutes, maybe even something like an early organ. They weren't just tools he used. They seem to have been part of his actual being, his design.
It's almost like his very nature was musical. So if you think about tabrets and pipes, rhythm and melody, in the setting of worship, before God's throne,
Yeah.
what does that imply about his original job, his function?
Well, given how music was used, even in ancient human worship, to celebrate, to express awe, to connect,
Mm.
the idea that these were within him suggests his role wasn't just performing music, it was maybe more like embodying it, creating this atmosphere of worship just by being who he was.
Mm.
You could almost frame it as, Lucifer, you are the instrument.
You were the instrument. That really changes things, doesn't it? So his whole design was maybe geared towards generating this soundscape of worship around God, not just decoration, but actively shaping the atmosphere of reverence.
Precisely. Leading the sonic expression of heaven's adoration seems like it was woven right into his created identity, not a side gig, fundamental.
Okay, so you have this incredible being, basically designed for musical worship at the highest level, and then the fall happens. What caused that shift?
From Lucifer to Satan, it doesn't seem like it was because he wasn't good enough or beautiful enough.
No, not at all. The text seemed to point towards pride. Ezekiel 28 again, verse 17. Thine heart was lifted up because of thy beauty. Thou hast corrupted thy wisdom by reason of thy brightness. His focus turned inward, away from God, the object of worship, onto himself. His own beauty, his own brightness, his own abilities. He became mesmerized by them. That's such a profound tragedy, isn't it? He had this amazing capacity, this inherent musicality meant for God, but he got wrapped up in his own glory. And you see that in Isaiah 14, right? Those famous 5 I wills.
Exactly. I will ascend. I will exalt my throne. I will sit upon the mount. I will be like the Most High. It's pure rebellion, fueled by that self-obsession.
Wanting the position, the worship, but without the surrender, the humility.
Yeah, wanting the perks of being God without the character of God. That seems to be the heart of it.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting for today. If music was so baked into his original design, what happens to that ability after the fall? Does he just lose it, or does he use it differently?
That's a critical question when you think about spiritual opposition. It seems unlikely that such a powerful tool for influence through sound would just be abandoned. The thinking is, well, that inherent musical gift is now potentially weaponized.
Weaponized. How?
Not always through, say, scary or dissonant sounds, though maybe sometimes, but often, perhaps more effectively, through beauty. Through music that sounds amazing, that moves you emotionally, but subtly steers the heart.
Yeah, music has that weird power, doesn't it? It can kind of bypass your brain, your defenses, and go straight for the emotions, like it slips in the back door. So instead of lifting you towards God, maybe that same power is now used to pull you away, even if the music sounds good.
Precisely. Think about some music out there. It might be technically brilliant, really well-produced, catchy, but the lyrics, maybe they glorify things that pull you away from a godly life. Pride, lust, greed, just normalizing sin. Yet people are drawn in by the sound itself.
And it's everywhere now. Streaming, charts, playlists in our pockets, constantly available. Potential reach is just massive.
And look at the inversion. Music originally meant for worship of God can become self-worship or worship of the artist, or it celebrates things that are harmful. Again, Music itself isn't evil, but the spirit driving it, the message behind it, that matters immensely.
It's often subtle too, right? Not always overtly shocking, more like a slow drip.
Yes, a gradual desensitization, making people comfortable with ideas or attitudes they might initially reject, simply because it's wrapped in an appealing package.
Which really brings us to the need for discernment for, everyone listening. It's so easy to think, oh, it's just a song, it's just entertainment. But you're saying it's more than that every song carries something.
I think we have to consider that possibility seriously, that music isn't neutral. Every song has a spirit, an atmosphere, an impact. Different kinds of music stir different things in us, lead us in different directions emotionally and spiritually.
There's that concern sometimes raised that people are almost being like discipled by the music they listen to, maybe more than by scripture. They know all the lyrics of pop songs, but maybe not key verses.
It's a valid point to consider. What messages are we memorizing, internalizing, just by listening repeatedly?
So the question we constantly need to ask ourselves about our music choices is, does this draw me closer to God? Or does it actually make me more comfortable living without him? That's pretty blunt.
But maybe necessary. Because music can either build up your spirit, encourage you towards godly things, or it can slowly, maybe without you even noticing, wear down your spiritual sensitivity.
Thinking ahead, does this connect to ideas about like end times? Could music play a role in deception then too?
Well, if you consider that music has this power to evoke strong emotions, you could see how it might be used to create counterfeit spiritual experiences. Worship based on feeling rather than truth, perhaps.
Interesting. But there's a contrast to that in scripture too, right? Like in Revelation.
Absolutely. Revelation 5 gives this incredible picture of true worship, and significantly it's coming from the redeemed, from those God has rescued.
It's like when Lucifer fell, God didn't just leave the music department empty. He gave the song, the true worship, to us, to those he saved.
That's a powerful way to put it. You listening were saved for something. And part of that is this new capacity for genuine worship.
So bringing it right down to the personal level.
Yeah.
What are you listening to? What's on your phone, in your car, playing in your house?
Because you are being shaped constantly by the sounds you immerse yourself in. It's worth a pause, a reflection.
And that little voice that says, it's just a song, that might be exactly what the enemy wants you to think, right? To stop being critical, to just consume passively.
It makes sense. If you stop evaluating the lyrical content, the overall feeling, the desires it stirs up, then you're letting it influence you unchecked.
So we really need to actively listen. What is this song promoting? What feelings is it encouraging in me towards God, towards myself, towards sin?
Because it's never truly neutral. It's building something or tearing something down, spiritually speaking. It's adding weight to one side of the scale or the other.
So it seems like music always points in one of two directions. Closer to God or further away?
That seems to be the fundamental choice, yes. And the really tricky part is that people often don't realize which direction they're being nudged by their playlists. And it's crucial to remember, not all music that feels good is good for your soul. Sometimes the most profound worship is silence, is surrender. And sometimes rebellion has a really, really catchy tune.
Wow.
Music always carries a message. It always builds a spirit. There's a spiritual reality, a battle, if you will, happening behind the melodies and rhythms we consume. Think about that new song in Revelation, the one only the redeemed can learn. Is the music you listen to now training your ear for that song, or is it creating static?
That's a heavy thought to end on. So the takeaway is just how powerful music is, this dual nature it has, created for incredible worship, but easily twisted.
And the responsibility falls on us to be aware, to be discerning about how we engage with it.
So knowing this deep link between sound, our spirit, how we worship, it may be the challenge for everyone listening is, what's one small conscious change you could make in your listening habits this week? Something to really think about. Ever stopped to